Hey everybody, we are back, unofficially opinionated, with a business corner. I think we're calling them these
Yeah,
days.
business
Yeah, yeah,
corner.
yeah. So what we
Yeah.
do is our resident business expert Nate here gives us kind of a case study, and we give you our unofficial opinions about how that might be handled better, or
Yep.
well, or appropriately in the workplace. So Nate, what do you got for us today?
Yes. So we all know this phenomenon, or maybe we do. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But there's a phenomenon about, people when you're at work, quite often there is someone at your job who is an absolute jerk, or just a person that maybe everyone doesn't like. I mean, maybe. I say maybe because it's not necessarily the case that everyone actually hates them, but whatever. So, first of all, have you all had that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you had that experience where there's at least one person in there in your jobs where you'd be like, it'd be better off if you weren't here.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wouldn't say
always.
that. I, I,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
wouldn't. I wouldn't say that, but I know there's you always have that person that like the majority of people have ill will toward. They don't like
Yeah.
that person too
yeah.
much
So
for
some people
whatever
just
reason.
rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's that perspective. Some people are just nice but not good at their job, and so that annoys a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
there's those people that are just like can just be very inappropriate, like either talking about politics all the time or saying inappropriate racial things, and so it's just like, could they just maybe not be here? So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I've seen at least.
Okay, so so we're going to talk about the jerk in the office. Now, this is an interesting concept because I was listening to it on French radio, and they had a talk show about um, is it good to have someone in the office who is a jerk? And when they say a jerk, they have a specific word for it. It's like con or connard.
Right,
And
right.
the
Yep.
the translation to that would be the nice translation would be jerk, but maybe the the not so nice translation would be like ass or something like that. Like just someone you just can't stand. They always got something negative to say. Blah blah blah. So they actually discussed this top. They discussed this. They were like, is it interesting to always have someone in there, right? So there is a method of thinking for managers where they think that some managers think that having an a-hole in the office kind of stimulates the people that work with them to work harder and or better. And so the question is that good is that good practice? So here's the situation, okay? So this situation does not involve me, but
Of course not. This is someone you know.
yeah.
but it is someone I know. So someone I
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you. Yes. Someone you know that is not you, for sure. Please proceed.
but this is someone that I know that told me this, and it was funny because I had just listened to the radio about this, and then I was told this later. So I was like, interesting. I would like to talk about this. So, anyways, so the situation is there is a jerk in the office. This person is dry, insulting, impatient, refuses to speak whole concepts to people, to those who they consider beneath them, seemingly. Like that's the concept. So, like when I say whole concepts, I mean um, they 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 talk. They talk down to them because they're just expecting them to kind of pick it up. I don't know how to explain that better. Let me see. Well, let me finish reading. Maybe it'll be clear. This person is courteous enough to management at their level or higher, um, but not so much to anyone working below them. Okay. they are so there are those that have that have to work with them that despise them, and they also make fun of them behind their back. Everyone in the office is actually scared to say anything to them because they have a kind of an anger issue, um, and no one wants to deal with them. They don't want to deal with them getting upset and whatever. Managers don't even want to. Their manager doesn't even want to deal with them getting upset. This person gets angry easy, yells at people, etc. Blah blah blah. Cuts people down. So the question is this a healthy work environment? Is it stimulating? Should it be supported or sought after? What do y'all think?
I'll let you go first, Tim.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Throw me into the fire.
So, I mean, if you go off that first thought, right? The first thought says, no, this is not a healthy work environment. You know, but
Okay.
that's a real. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one because I've seen it happen where, you know, you have a person that does a lot of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not like I've seen. Okay, so I've known somebody that does a lot of those things in the workplace, but they're not actually a mean person. But but this and this just don't connect.
So
The brain and mouth don't connect.
So to that point, is it acceptable?
I wouldn't say it's acceptable.
I mean, like, are you looking? Does that person have to be mean for their behavior to be considered unacceptable?
No.
Okay. So okay. Also, what I was also going to say is, which I hadn't noted, but they were also indicated as doing their job kind of okay or kind of well, not exceptional, but also not bad. So
I have so many thoughts, which is why I wanted Tim to go first, just so I wouldn't take up all of the time. But
right.
where to start? So to me, the fact that all this is happening, it just indicates a very unhealthy work environment, just in general. Like you mentioned, no one wants to speak with them, even their own manager.
Yeah.
Is annoyed with it and won't speak to them about it. Like that's already that's already a problem. So they're a problem. The manager, you're also a problem because it's your job to talk to them and to manage them and to help them through this. Like if they're doing something that's disruptive, right? Someone should come talk to you and you speak to them about it, right? If you can't do that, then maybe both y'all need to go because this is just let's just say for the sake of argument that this behavior is somehow stimulating work and helping things be better. I can imagine you think that's helpful long term. Like maybe in the short term, having this jerky type person is somehow making people more productive. I would challenge you to show me the data on that. That's actually happening. And then show me when they're not being a jerk, how productivity works. If people aren't going around tiptoeing around this person, maybe they're doing more work themselves that they should have given to that person. Maybe they're taking the long way walking somewhere. I imagine a lot of inefficient behaviors being done for the sake of this one person's feelings or trying to avoid conflict with this one person. And also just think about this. I think most people, not all people, I think most people would agree that like being a jerk is not the best way to progress socially. And work environment is a social environment, right? It's not simply about what you do. You have to get along with people. Unless you run the company and they can't fire you. And then it's a matter of, all right, can you be a jerk and still make, great products? Steve Jobs did it for a while, right? It can happen, But Steve Jobs wasn't a middle manager, right? Like he was at the top, and I would imagine they did all that in spite of his jerkiness, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be a jerk to be a genius. You know, you can be and not be a jerk. So for me, I think there's also the disservice being done to this person. And I mean, I'm guilty of this. I'm very conflict averse, so I'm not judging people. I'm just stating the facts as I see them. But this person is being done a disservice because no one's telling them that their behavior is inappropriate. So they're going around working, not knowing, potentially not knowing. Maybe they know and they don't care. But they can say they didn't know because no one told them, right? You didn't tell me, it wasn't a problem. You know, and the longer you go with this, the more ammunition of, oh, this has been a problem for 2 years and no one said anything. Why is it a problem now?
Yeah.
Like, oh, now you want to fire me?
I can see that being an argument. Yeah.
You want to fire me now over something I've been doing for 2 years? Right? Like, what's where in my file does it say this was an issue we discussed and that we required to do something differently in my behavior? It's not. Yeah. So guess what? I'm not leaving. At least in the U.S. Now, how France would handle that scenario, but I would imagine if you never document ever discussing it with the person, their behavior, you can't all of a sudden say, oh, you let go of this behavior today. Yeah. You know, so for me, there's all sides of this, right? I think just culturally, there's a problem when the company can't talk to a specific person because they're afraid of them getting upset. Yeah. There's too much dysfunction that I think that needs to get resolved. That's my short answer.
Okay.
You want to add something, Tim?
No. You know something. Listen to what Chris was saying. You know, like I think me personally, because the way when I deal with people, I'm dealing with them on like an employee, on an employee level. You know, I just give everybody space. If this person is being a jerk in the office, they won't know who I am. I'm just going to give them space, unless they have to have some reason to come and talk to me, in which I will talk to them directly, work related stuff. Like, here is the information that you requested. Have a great day. I'm going to go back to my desk.
They're like, thanks, stupid. Bye.
Yeah. What happens if they come at you?
Yeah,
because I guarantee you, I can't guarantee you that's not true, but
I've had that happen.
And you just don't say anything? And
I just be like, this conversation is ended now. And I just go back to work, and that's what I do. Because I'm in the office, you know, in my mind, and maybe it's because of the way I was raised, okay, I'm a black guy in office. People can sound crazy to me, but I got to watch my tone sometimes. Because I know I can get louder than this person. I know I can seem more aggressive than this person. So I'll be like, you know something? This conversation is over. You can say what you want. I'm about to go back to my desk and have a seat. I got stuff I got to finish.
That's a very interesting point.
Let me tell you on that. So I didn't deal with like a specific jerk of a person. Well, we had someone that was a jerk where I used to work for a while, but they weren't a jerk to me. But they were on a call where their boss, this person was a director, and their boss had to basically tell them stop talking on the call because they were getting like too heated. She was like, "Stop talking, just be quiet." And I was like, "Oh, this is." Yeah. So they weren't there after a few weeks because they actually upset the wrong person, which I think was the owner. So that's what it took. But you know, someone I was dealing with, you know, at a point was the person. We were friendly. I wouldn't say we were friends. We were friendly. Why weren't we friends? Well, this person, you know, you guys know our current environment in the United States, politically, culturally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of things that it's just, you know, it's probably best just not to like mention or talk about at work, especially if I'm black, you're not. Let's just leave it alone. But I'm not going to bring it up. You don't bring it up. Yeah. So the person would sometimes make comments about, you know, I can't believe, you know, Joe Biden did blah, 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 blah. Or how come Barack Obama did da, 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 da. These liberals, yada, 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 yada. And I'm like, again, I can be any type of person, right? But why make the assumption I'm a very specific type of person?
Yeah.
Right? That's uncommon. Like, there's black Republicans everywhere. Like, that's not, you know, especially in the South. I mean, a lot of conservative blacks. Like, that's not a thing. But why you would assume I am that person.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous assumption. And so the person will just make comments here and there all the time, just very casually. And it's just like, you know,
Okay.
and,
So you, okay.
and on top of that, right. And this, most people would think this is a very nonchalant thing, but this person was very into Marvel and DC
Oh,
to the point
okay.
that go see every movie that comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every movie. I don't think they're going to listen to this. If they do, then they'll be outed to themselves. But Black Panther comes out. Oh, I didn't see it. It didn't really seem like my type of movie. Oh, yeah? Really? Really? You watch every single DC show on CW. You watch every single Marvel show on Netflix. You see every single movie.
But you don't get
But
this.
Black Panther, I'll see what comes out on streaming or DVD.
Sometimes.
So that was kind of the last straw for me. So I did speak to someone, not about that specifically, but I did use that as an example after some of the other stuff. I'm like, look, you know, a person's talking about politics and they're saying stuff that's just, you know, it's borderline. Like, somebody speak to them because this is making me uncomfortable, right? And so they did speak to them because they were very, I mean, fortunately for me, when it came down to it, if someone had to go, they didn't want that person to be me.
All right.
So they were incentivized to handle the situation. If it was different, then maybe I would have kicked myself in the butt and I'd have been the one booted out. But they were like, look, we'll talk to him. So they talked to the person. I think they did reduce quite a bit of it. But they're still so comfortable. You know the type of person. They're still so comfortable. They would sometimes say off the wall stuff, and I would have to just be like,
yeah.
Anyway, you know, so, you know, I say that to say I'm super conflict averse, and that went on for a long time. But that wasn't a healthy thing to do, right? And that person wasn't bothering only me.
Yeah.
Right. It was multiple people. And if they're bothering all of us and no one's speaking out, that's just harming the harmony in the office, in the work environment. And if we have to roll our eyes whenever someone comes around, you know, and they're bothering people, let's handle that. And maybe the person didn't know they were doing this, and someone talks to them, they're like, oh shoot, I didn't realize, you know, I grew up, you know, the backwoods in the South, I didn't know blah 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 was offensive, you know, whatever, if you want to say, you know, potentially that was this person's case, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
But yeah, so I just think being, and again, this is gonna sound hypocritical to my wife, but I do think being straightforward and honest and confronting things is the best way to be, especially in a business. Because you're not there to be friends and to watch people's feelings. You're there to do a job, and I don't think being a jerk is required to do your job. Can some people do their job in spite of being a jerk? I think yes. I think that's become, I think people looked at Steve Jobs and in some ways idolized that. Like, oh, Steve Jobs did it and he was a jerk, and they take the wrong lessons from that, right? Oh, cool. So to be successful, I just got to be this genius jerk, and you know it'll be cool, and that's how I get ahead. When I don't think that's the lesson to learn from that situation.
Well, I mean, it's also not just Steve Jobs. I mean, you know, like The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh yeah,
all those other types of movies where like they, you know, especially in fashion, where they're just like, oh, you know, get things done yesterday, blah blah blah, blah, snappy, whatever, blah blah blah, and they're like, this is what's motivating. So I think that's where they got this whole topic, which I thought was interesting. So yeah, so this, like I said, this situation didn't actually happen to me, but a similar situation did happen to me at my previous job that I was at. No, sorry, not my previous, but my before previous job.
Pre-previous.
Yeah. And the woman there was very, very, I don't know. She was just a jerk. People didn't like working with her. And I avoided her. yeah, I avoided her because I saw how she would act, and she was like screaming at her team and stuff like that. It's just really ridiculous, like pushing them for no reason, like literally for no reason, like not physically pushing them, but like pushing them, move
Mm-hmm.
faster, do this, get this out of the way. Like she always was looking for something to scream about, and I was pretty much the exact opposite with my team. Um, and what was interesting was she had the biggest sector, the biggest department, and she made the most amount of money. And and so I was just like, and she was like pushing them, so she gets a bonus if they make a certain amount of money, but obviously her team doesn't. Um, but everyone gets a bonus at the end of the year if this store did well, but they're not thinking about the bonus at all. Like they're just like, I will go to work, go home, sort of thing. So they didn't. I don't know. It was just a bad environment, in my opinion. So I tried to stick to myself because it didn't involve me and it didn't involve my team. Like I was just like, I can't speak for everybody. I've learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go to people's defense who will not go to bat for themselves.
Right.
So I just was like, I'm not going to say anything, but don't come near my team. And it happened that during the pandemic, they had to close my department. So then I went to go work with her. And well, I think it started, was it before with that? No, it was during that time or whatever. She flipped out or something for some reason. And I told her she need to calm herself down. And she didn't take that very well. So she told the owner of the store, and he was like, Nate, you gotta, he was like, you gotta be, she's under a lot of pressure. I was like, that doesn't give her any excuse. I was like, I'm letting you know, no one's talking to me like that. No one. I was very, very direct, but also I have a very short temper when it comes to things like that.
Mm-hmm.
She had, and then from then on, I think she had like this vendetta against me, because I think she was expecting me to get fired, which I wouldn't have minded getting fired. Like it was, especially since during the pandemic, this people's was crazy. I was like, get me out of the store. But he didn't, but he liked me and I liked the owner. But he also was friends with this woman. Right. So it was whatever. Later on, I came to find out she was actually a really nice person. She was just a jerk at work. Yeah, she was just a jerk at work, which I did not give her. I was like, I still find that unacceptable. I said, do not talk to my team like that, because she tried to. And I was like, no. And I told the owner as well. I was like, but he had the same temperament as she did. he would like scream whatever, so he tried to scream at my team and I said, you don't know. I was like, I realize that like they work for you technically, but don't scream at my team. I was
Right.
like, no. I was like, if you need them to do something, you come talk to me and I will tell them. If you feel like you can't tell them like in a normal voice. I was like, my team is very effective, they know how to do their job. I ended up like screaming at him like we had a scream out or whatever. It was hilarious to me. I mean, at the time I was furious, but after thinking about it, it was hilarious because he came up, he was like, Nate, he wanted me to go downstairs. I was like, no, I got stuff to do, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, you can't do that now. And I was like, I can too. And if you don't like it, fire me. He was like, I'm not firing you. And then he stormed.
What? This sounds so dysfunctional.
It was so dysfunctional. It was so bad, but like, because he liked me and I liked him. Like he's a good person, But he admitted later that he was not a good manager, or he was like he could be a better manager. He was very, very good with numbers, which is why the store did so well. It's because he was very good at numbers and stuff. But just people he had a hard time, working with. And I really like admired him and respected him, but he was just not good with people. So I felt like I had to protect my team.
Yeah. Like if you're not good at people, either hire somebody to do that part for you,
yeah,
or get it together.
yeah.
That's the
Exactly.
options,
Like
right?
figure this out. Yeah. So I just, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I that was something that had this story had kind of hit home because I was like, yeah, I don't tolerate that by any means. I just don't have the patience for it. You know, I don't care who you are. Um, I just don't have the patience for it. I feel like you should know how to talk to people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
You know,
outside of your personal feeling on it, like I guess as you look at it, do you see it being there any place for jerkiness in a corporate environment or
no.
a work environment?
No, I used to think because this is how it usually was. I used to think like they were discussing on this radio that um, maybe it was kind of like a motivating factor because they said that about this lady that I was working with. They were like, yeah, but she does so her department does so well, and I'm like, well, how well would it do if she was actually you know nicer?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be kind to people and talking to people. It doesn't mean you have to slack off, like excuse me. I don't know if that's why what they were thinking, but I just like, no, that does it's not they're not mutually exclusive. Like you can be kind, but also I felt like I was kind to my team didn't want me to leave. Basically, I left and they didn't want me to leave. And then after I left, they all left, but they were very effective. They did a job in 6 months that everyone thought that the director thought was going to take at least a year to do, you know? So like we were very effective, and I wrote a letter to them and explained to them, y'all need to stop yelling at your people. And like I wrote 2 letters and explaining this. I was like, stop yelling at your people, they are
Mm-hmm.
very good at what they're doing. So I don't think that it's required. In fact, I think it is causes it's negative. So she had a high. Okay, so her department did well, but she had a very high turnover, and in fact she had the highest turnover in her department
That's
in the
expensive.
entire store. Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. So I was just like, just treat your people like they're humans. Don't scream, don't scream at them.
Fancy that.
But it was interesting too because I thought about it because we ended up talking. I started ignoring her completely because I was like, listen, we can't talk because I'm gonna go off. So I was like, I stopped talking to her completely, and then towards the end of while I was there, we started talking. Um, then that's when I found out that she was actually a nicer person. She cared about her team. I saw that she cared about like certain people on her team. Like one of the guys had come in and she saw that he had this thin coat and it was super cold. She was like, "No, you need a coat. What are you doing?" Like a mother, like what a grandmother would do. Like, well, you ain't got no meat on your bone. Like
Right.
that's how she was, and that's how I knew she was a good person. But then I realized that she had probably just learned how this is what a manager is supposed to be. And in addition to that, she was a woman and she was a manager. So I'm assuming she was like, and she was older. So I feel like she was perhaps was like, I have to show that I'm to be respected, or
Right.
whatever,
You gotta
which
fight.
I understand that struggle. So I didn't want to falter for that, but I was like, if you are, like you're saying, you're taking the wrong lessons from, away from that story. So
Yeah, because just because it works, it doesn't mean that's the best way to
it's the
do it.
best way to do it. Exactly. Yeah.
Because I mean, you can make some stuff work.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's efficient. Like
Right.
if anything, you're making it work at the cost of the
Yep.
relationships.
Yep.
So if
Exactly.
nothing else, like that's not there, and that's important, especially if things start to go poorly or you need people to kind of dig deep.
Yeah.
If you don't have relationships, you're kind of stuck at that point.
Yeah.
You'll lose
Yeah.
out on a lot of good employees that way too.
And the thing is, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they were, oh my goodness, they had some really good employees. They just was like, no, I don't want to. This guy like literally left. He was like, if I wanted to be yelled at, I could go work in Switzerland and I get paid like 3 times as much or something like that or whatever. Yeah. So they were just losing a lot of very good employees. But I also told them, I was like, if y'all don't check that, something gonna happen. Something gonna go down and you're gonna be the owner. I was like, you're gonna be the one that's looked at because you allowed this to happen. They're gonna do an investigation. Everybody's like, oh, that wouldn't happen. I was like, y'all think Y'all think this wouldn't happen. It will. I hope it doesn't. Like, I'm hoping that you all are cool because, like I said, they're good people. But still, good people doesn't mean that it's a good work environment. So, yep.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I mean, I think it's apparent now that punishment is not the best way to motivate anyone.
Oh no,
or anything, right? Like it's just like that's just outside of the work environment. Like that's just not the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's
just not.
Yeah.
So but again, if no one taught her better, that you gotta train. Like management isn't something that people just like pick up and like just learn in osmosis. Right. Like not good management. Like like people have to be taught and learn and trained and like told how and like learn how and like continually get more training. And just to be like, hey, you're a manager now. Cool, go do it. Yep. Like I remember at my last place, right? Like I was like, they're like, okay, like now you're like manager. I was like, okay, cool. Like what's like they're like, like you're a manager now. Like thankfully, like my supervisor, she personally had known like this tools. It's like this website called Manager Tools, I think. It's like a free podcast, like a lot of stuff like that. She's like, go listen to those. I think it's really good content. Like it's really good. So I was doing that. Yeah. It was very helpful. But I'm like, but corporately there wasn't really like a plan for, hey, this person's a manager now, so let's give them these trainings. Let's make sure they do these things. Let's do this. Yeah. It's like, okay, we need someone to manage these 5 people. Hey, you go ahead and do that. Yeah. Here's some extra money. Go and prosper.
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah, it's a problem. And people, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know.
I told the director of the store, I was like, you could benefit from management classes, and he was like, I took them. They didn't do much for me. I was like, I don't think you took the right ones.
I'm like, just because you heard something or observed something doesn't mean you learned something, right?
Yeah.
Like it didn't help. Well, maybe I don't know what to say about that.
Maybe you didn't integrate it. I don't know. But
were you listening or were you looking at your phone? What were you doing?
Talking during the thing,
just because you passed the exit
you
quiz,
wasn't being listening. They're the same words.
I mean, because again, you can go into it with, hey, I want to learn this, or you can go into it with, hey, I want to get a passing grade, right? Like with school, right? Like you can learn the content, or you can pass the class. That's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Don't I know it?
I'm just trying to get a C+. That's
Look, I can get an A and still not know the stuff.
Yeah,
that's just what I'm capable of doing. As a month later, I'm like, I don't know that.
Man,
just trying to get through.
Okay. Well, it was good to hear y'all's thoughts on that. I wanted to get like your fresh reaction to it, not like a reflected.
Right. Yeah. Nate did spring it on. She's like, I might tell you what it's about till we get on the podcast. Right. I want your raw, unadulterated opinions. Right. So, and you got it.
Yes, I did, and I like that. So perhaps I'll just keep doing it like that.
Why not? We'll roll the dice. If it's terrible, we won't post it. We'll keep it to ourselves. Like if that went sideways, that's gonna be for the
archive. That's ridiculous. Maybe. I mean,
hey,
maybe I won't do it all like that. Yeah, it just depends on which ones I get. So, speaking of which, if well, that's the end of this business corner. But if you have any like scenarios that you all want to talk to us about, feel free to let me get the words out. Feel free to put them in our comments, or send us messages, and we will definitely if it's interesting, we'll definitely talk about it. Yeah.
We'll at least read and reply, but
we'll at least read and reply. Exactly.
We will not ignore you.
No.
And we'll not tell you that your comment is not interesting.
I mean, I might. Now, it might come from our account, and it might say from Tim,
Right.
Like,
If that's what it said, it's
I'll
definitely
tell
him.
you.
It's definitely not me.
Yes. This topic is not.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, thanks again for everyone joining us today. It's been fun as always. You know where we are. We're online. We're unofficially opinionated. We're on all the stuff. Go find us. That's our name. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Give us a review. Give us a rating. We would enjoy it. Thanks again, Nate, for doing all of the hard work, audio, video. You the man. Tim, graphics. He's the one. Discord guru as well.
Yeah.
This will be funny for the next 3 or 4 recordings, I think, and then we'll actually get over it. Thanks to Jaden for our music, intro and outro, and I think we're done for the day. We'll catch y'all next time.
That notification.
Yes.
All right. Ciao.
Peace.